Hi everyone, this is hopefully a quick video on how to set up artwork, box art, logos, etc. in RetroArch. I did a guide recently, sort of I guess a quick intro, sort of beginner's guide to RetroArch, and I did touch on adding artwork in there, but a few people have asked me exactly how to do it. They've had some issues getting it working, so this video should answer all those questions. So without further ado, what I've done is I've already downloaded a new copy or a recent copy of RetroArch. Just so you can see, this is a completely fresh new install. I'm not pre-configured anything or changed anything out of the box. So what I'm going to do, I just downloaded this already just to save some time, and I'll do a quick install when it decides to open up. Okay, so I'm just going to whiz through this. To get to the C drive, that's fine. Don't need DirectX. Just click next, let it go, and then I'll pause while this happens. Nearly halfway. I'll pause again, and there we go. That took less than a minute, but also I want to try and keep this the video as quick as possible, short and sharp and snappy. Right, so that's installed. So if I now have a quick look on the C drive, there we go, RetroArch 164. Like I say, completely out of the box, brand new install. I'll just fire it up. And there we go, so standard interface. So we'll do a standard setup like you normally do. Go across the main menu, online up. Wait, might be too quick. Online updater. I won't bother getting any calls in like that at the moment, we don't really need that. Update the assets file, controller profile, database. Things like the shaders and overlays I'll leave as well, don't particularly need those at the moment. So I'll just pause quickly while that downloads and extracts. Okay, that's just coming to the end now. Finishing down the section. Everything else, the other bits downloaded, the controller profiles, database, etc. finished. Just going to extract the assets. And that's it done. Right, so if I click back in the window, there we go. Right, so that's the basic update done. So what I'm going to do now is just change the interface. So this is kind of, like I say, the basic interface you have here, but I'm going to change it over now to the more, I guess, the one I prefer, the better looking one, the more graphical one, the XMB. So just settings menu here, then user interface, and you see the menu here is Ozone, which is the default one. There's a couple of others you can try, but XMB is one I like. I think it shows off the artwork quite well as well. So we change that, and we'll just need to either close and reopen RetroArch, or in the newer versions there's a restart option. So it's restarted just off the screen slightly, but so there we go. That's kind of the XMB. I guess it for those that had a PlayStation 3, it probably looks like the cross media bar from there. So right, what I've got here on my C drive in the demo folder is just a bunch of games. I'm going to import in that we can use to create a test playlist. These two folders, we can ignore these are actually from different front end, so I'll delete those out. There's a game list file there again from a different front end that I was using these games for, so it's now clean. It's literally just got games in. It's roughly 100 sort of best of games for the Mega Drive. So what we'll do now is, back in RetroArch, we'll just go along and find the option to import. So import content, I always do manual, just so you've got more control. So the content directory is obviously where the games are. That's on my C drive under that demo folder. So yeah, C demo, then Mega Drive. Scan this directory, and then here we've got the actual system name. So this is what the playlist is going to be called. So you can, by the default there, it says content directory, so it will create a playlist that matches the name of the folder you're scanning, but then obviously you get to to choose. Basically, you can do custom, where you can basically type your own name in. But what I recommend is using the kind of built-in system names. It's easy. You kind of know where you are. Then you don't need to remember, oh, what did I call that one? Give it some weird, wonderful name. If you use the standard ones built in, then it's consistent, and there's more chance of stuff working rather than mucking about. The custom system name option below is basically, if you've set a system name to custom, you'll then go to this option, this custom name on here, and get a chance to type in. Default core you can set. I've not downloaded any yet, so it won't, but you can basically say, okay, for this playlist use this Mega Drive core. All the rest you can pretty much leave as it is, and then hit start scan, and that's it done. It's really quick. So now we can see we've got a playlist on the end, which is Mega Drive, and there's all the games listed. So normally you could stop there and go, yeah, there you go, those are my games, but obviously we want to put all the artwork in, so we'll carry on. First thing to check is directory. So this directory setting is basically a whole bunch of directories where you tell RetroArch where to look for certain things. So the system one is where it looks for BIOS files, assets and under assets, and thumbnails are under thumbnails. So just double check where that's pointing to make sure it's still default and you haven't changed it, or it hasn't been changed to something else. So look in the RetroArch folder that we're working on, and you see there's a thumbnails folder. So at the moment it's empty. So this stuff I've got here is what I want to copy over. So like I say, there you can see I've got a folder which already matches the name of the playlist I just created, and then within there you've got 3 folders, standard names. Obviously these have to be these names. These are the names it looks for. So names are called box arts, snaps, and titles. So also the box art is, as you can see here, it's the box for the actual game. I've chosen to scrape 3D box arts because I think they look a little bit better than 2D. And then you'll see in here that if on the left hand side I've got all my ROMs, my games, and then the right hand side I've got the artwork. So the file name matches exactly. Obviously the extension is different. The .md is the ROM, and .png, or you might have .jpg, depending on what type of image you've got. So the extension obviously doesn't have to match, but as long as the actual file name matches. And the only difference is, you see here we've got Battletoads, Double Dragon. It's got an and sign, an ampersand. That needs to be replaced with an underscore. Because there's a handful of characters which doesn't understand, and they have to be replaced with an underscore. So I think Mega Man did have one originally, but I think I renamed it. So that's an old piece of artwork which I never cleared out. So that one can be ignored. And there's something like NFL 95. See, that's got the apostrophe, but that is actually okay. That's not one that causes an issue, so that's fine. So there is actually, to look all this stuff up, there's on the Libretro.com website, there's a little guide on how to do this. It pretty much goes through exactly what I've just said. Confirms there, that there's a place there you can actually get some thumbnails, but it confirms here that the folder, the subfolder underneath thumbnails, needs to match the name exactly as the playlist you've just created. Also, you can browse your thumbnails. Obviously, under RetroArch folder, there's browse your playlist. Under RetroArch, there is a folder called playlist, and it lists them all. And they've all got that LPL extension. You can open it in Notepad or your text editor and have a look. But basically says match the first the name to the folder. And here's the characters I mentioned. If any of these characters are in your ROM file name, then for the corresponding artwork you have to replace them with an underscore. So the example there is Cubert with an asterisk, and the asterisk is replaced with an underscore. So I'll leave the link to these in the description. That should basically just confirm what we're going through there. So yeah, basically to get it working, we now need to copy these across, and just to confirm, here's snaps. So these are kind of screenshots for each of the games, and then you've got titles, which normally I think traditionally would be kind of the title shot of the game. But in this case, what I've done is put in logos instead, which is fine. RetroArch doesn't know what type of file you've got in there. As long as it matches the right name, it will display it. So I chose to put logos in instead of titles. I think it looks better. So yeah, if we go back to, actually first we'll just copy this across. So copy across that folder, into RetroArch folder, under thumbnails, and just paste that in there. And obviously this was the path we checked earlier. So yeah, underneath each one is the box arts, snaps, and titles folders. So we should be good to go. I'm just gonna have a quick look at this instance of RetroArch that I've already got set up with a whole bunch of stuff in. So if you have a look at the thumbnails here, you'll see as you build them up, you'll get a whole bunch, and all these are thumbnails for various playlists I've already got set up in this other instance of RetroArch, and you can see how they all match. The Mega Drive one is still there, and see each one's got the same folder structure, and underneath that the 3D box art for that particular system, in this case Saturn. So you can kind of see how it builds up. So we're doing one system here, we're doing Mega Drive as a demo, but you can see how it builds the more and more systems you add. And then we go across to Mega Drive. There we go. Now we've got all the thumbnails. So by default it shows the box art in there, which is the name_box arts folder. All 3D boxes. And now you can go a step further if you want to add a bit more, or change the size and all that kind of stuff. Like I say, by default it shows one piece of artwork. But if you go to user interface again, and you'll leave its appearance, just go down. So down here we've got thumbnails. So box art, like I say, as a default. Hit enter on that. You can say, okay, do you want the screenshot, the title screen, or the box art? That refers to these three folders over here. So I'll leave it as box art, and then you have the left thumbnail, which is basically a second one. You can turn that on and pick again which one of you want. So I'll go with the title, which actually contains all my logos, and by default that will go on the left hand side. So if we look at that first, let's escape out, go across the playlist, you'll see you now have on the right hand side of box art, left hand side the logo. But again, you can tweak it again. If you go back to user interface, appearance, go down to the thumbnail section, so that left thumbnail is title screen, and then you can say vertical disposition, which basically moves everything over to the right hand side. So again, if I come out, go across, and now puts them both on the right hand side, which I prefer. So yeah, that looks good. And then again, there is further tweaking you can do. So you come back to user interface, appearance. You can do things like scaling. So let's make it quite a bit smaller to make it obvious. Let's take it down to 70%. I think that's about it. So let's scale the whole lot. You can also upscaling. So let's not escape. Let's kind of look now. So you see, it's just shrunk them down a bit because they take up less space. So you can have a play with that and see what you like. So that's basically it. You got to make sure that you've got the right folder names, and the folder, the folder holding your thumbnails matches your playlist name, and you got to make sure that you got the name _box art _snap _titles correct, and that the image files match exactly what your ROM files are called. The only other thing, I guess, on the kind of artwork side is the kind of background images. So again, this is, if we go to directory, there's a dynamic backgrounds folder. So that's under assets, wallpapers. So what I've got, again on a previous installation, or my normal installation, so I've got that set up already. So we're going to find that folder. So on here I've got a wallpapers folder, and under there I've got different systems. So I've got some actual standard images as well. So what I do, I copy this whole lot across into our new location. So in here it was the wallpapers are under assets and then wallpapers, because it's empty, so we'll just paste that in there. Got a couple of images here I can use for the background image, but then if you want a dynamic image per playlist, under systems, again, so you have all these different background images. So there's one for Mega Drive, and for the background you'll see the name of the image with wallpaper is again exactly the same as the playlist name. So this now means that if we go in here, go back to that user interface, so I can set a static background image which will work for the main menu backgrounds, and anything that's not a playlist basically. So there's the three I copied in. See a little preview there. I quite like that one. So that becomes a background for the normal menus. And then if I turn on background, which isn't already, that means that all the playlists, they'll get a dynamic background. So you see here I've got that background image for all the standard menus. And then when I get to Mega Drive, it should change. So we can just double check that. Yeah, so it's probably good that it's not worked first time. Missing go and double check a few things and hopefully fix it. So yeah, so I've got wallpapers, assist wallpapers systems, Sega dash. That's definitely right, isn't it? That must be right because the thumbnails. Is that, yeah, Sega. Wallpapers. Let's just double check this. Double check the settings here. User interface. Appearance. Dynamic is on. So, I'm just going to check that directory again. It's pointing at wallpapers. I think what it is, because I've got some wallpapers in the root and then I've got all my system ones, play ones in a subfolder called systems. I think dynamic needs to point to the systems folder. I think because I wanted to keep them separate, when I've got those couple of background images and also the Xbox one I'm using here, I wanted to keep them separate. So I've got a feeling that, where is it? Okay, so we'll set the dynamics wallpaper to assets wallpaper systems. Use this directory. Okay, fingers crossed. There we go. So you see, so for all the other systems, all the other menus, the background is the one I picked, the static one. But for Mega Drive, we get the specific Mega Drive background, and that'll be the same as you build up the other playlists. So you'll get dynamic backgrounds then as well, and it'll look really good. So that's basically it for RetroArch. What I can probably do is now just sort of show where to get the artwork from. So let me just quit out this for a minute. Again, I'll put the links into the description. But like I say, so we've got this article about how to do it officially, and there's some thumbnail packs here. So just open up this. So you see here they've got a whole bunch of packs already made for each system. There's a similar thing. I think it's probably is the same on GitHub. There's a project on here, Libretro thumbnails, and you can see on here you've got a whole bunch of basically all different systems. So we go down to Sega Mega Drive, go into here again. So they're already organised into the right named folders, and you go into here, and you'll have the artwork for each system. The other thing to bear in mind is this one is based on, this is presuming that your ROMs have got the country and brackets after them in the name. So this is what, if you know anything about the ROM sets, there's a no intro ROM set, which basically is a kind of, I think they're cleaner ROM set. So if your ROMs kind of match this naming convention, where you've got the game name of brackets USA or brackets Europe or whatever it might be, then you can probably grab these as they are. If they haven't, you could still grab these, but then you'd have to do a whole bunch of renaming. Basically take the brackets off, because you basically want to end up with your artwork matching the name of your ROMs. So if they match this, great, you can just grab these and away you go. And like I say, I'm pretty sure this link here does, point to the same files, just in a different location. So we've got a Mega Drive, we've got a zip file there. Yeah, it's quite big. Probably should have picked a smaller one. Yeah, that's quite a small one. So again, that's kind of got the standard name convention for the folder. Inside there, you've got your folders already. Oh, and then in here it hasn't got the actual. Well, it's got one. Hasn't got very many in there. That's why it's so small. But anyway, this is a place where you can go get the artwork if you haven't got it already yourself. The other way of doing it is scraping with the artwork yourself, and for that I'd recommend ScreenScraper. So they've got this website where you can go in and sign up for a free account, and you can basically browse their collection. Often things like Emu movies as well that do this, but for ScreenScraper, they've got a Windows-based tool you can download, and basically you can launch that and say, okay, pointing that at your ROMs folder, here's the artwork I want, click go, and it will go away and do everything for you and scrape all the artwork. So you can use this to scrape all your artwork. It's got examples of some recent media added. But yeah, so that's another location, another source of artwork. If you haven't got it already, you need to go and scrape it. You can do that. So yeah, I'll put all these links in the description. So I guess in a nutshell, that's how you do it. You make sure you got all the box art and the screenshots and titles, basically in the correctly named folders and the correctly named file names to match your game, and then you should be good. And also just with RetroArch, as you saw there, just double check if you've got the right directory for that. So just look in the right place for the thumbnails, and also if you want to use the direct backgrounds, make sure it's pointing in the right location there, and you should be good to go. So hopefully that's helped and answered some questions. Obviously leave any comments down below, and I'll make sure I get to you. I'll just send a Facebook link and also just consider it. Which helps you. I think it's really easy way to share it. And also share it with you, ask some questions. Just send right people group. Thanks for watching.